The year 1998, a digital clock ticking over the millennium, crackled with anticipation. On a brightly lit soundstage, a vision in a schoolgirl uniform twisted and writhed, her pigtails swinging with defiant innocence. A siren of pop, yet barely out of her teens, she sang of hitting you, baby, one more time. The world watched, mesmerized, captivated by her undeniable charisma and the irresistible hook. This was Britney Spears, and her arrival was not just a debut. It was an explosion, an undeniable coronation of a new pop princess. Yet beneath the dazzling spectacle of choreographed routines and infectious melodies, an unspoken narrative was already beginning to unfold, hinting at a complexity far beyond the bubblegum facade. Public perception, initially, was a wave of pure adoration. She was the wholesome American sweetheart, the girl next door who could dance like a dream and sing with a sweet, breathy allure. Critics hailed her as the new queen of teen pop, fans plastered her posters on bedroom walls, and record sales soared into unimaginable heights. She was the epitome of youthful exuberance, a seemingly flawless embodiment of the late 90s pop dream. But behind the sparkling smiles and the carefully constructed image of innocent sensuality, a deeper, more intricate story was already being written, one woven with threads of relentless pressure, a profound loss of autonomy, and an unyielding fight for selfhood in a world that sought to control her every move. The media quickly crowned her, then just as quickly began to dissect her, scrutinizing every decision, every outfit, every whispered rumor. They saw the global tours, the endorsement deals, the public romances, and they labeled her. Yet, the true story, the one etched into the deepest recesses of her heart, was far more intricate. A saga of immense talent harnessed and exploited, of a young woman's desperate plea for agency, and a relentless struggle to reclaim her own narrative from the clutches of an industry and a family that profited from her very existence. This was not merely the tale of a pop sensation. It was the saga of a woman who, from her earliest breath, was groomed for the spotlight, who wrestled with her own demons in the blinding glare of relentless scrutiny, and who, in doing so, became an unwitting symbol of freedom in the most unlikely of battles. Her journey was a relentless climb, marked by triumphs that defined a generation and falls that threatened to consume her entirely. It was a life lived under a magnifying glass, a constant tightrope walk between art and commerce, adoration and devastating exploitation. And as the world watched, sometimes in awe, sometimes in judgment, a profound narrative of resilience, reinvention, and the enduring power of a singular, unbreakable spirit began to unfold. This was the story of Britney Jean Spears, a woman who dared to dream beyond the ordinary, and in doing so, reshaped the very landscape of pop culture, while fighting for her own survival within its gilded cage. On December 2nd, 1981, in Macomb, Mississippi, a future pop phenomenon was born, christened Britney Jean Spears. She was the second of 3 children to James Jamie Parnell Spears and Lynn Irene Bridges. Their family background was rooted in the conservative, Christian Southern American culture of Kentwood, Louisiana, where Britney spent most of her childhood. Jamie, a building contractor, and Lynn, a former elementary school teacher, raised their children in a modest religious household that often emphasized traditional values, yet also fostered an early ambition for performance. The Spears household was, from a young age, a stage for its budding star. Britney's older brother Brian and younger sister Jamie Lynn shared in the general dynamic of a close-knit Southern family, but it was Britney who commanded the spotlight within the home. From the tender age of 2, she exhibited an undeniable talent for singing and dancing, performing endlessly for family members, mimicking pop stars she saw on television. Her parents, particularly her mother Lynn, quickly recognized this precocious talent and actively nurtured it, enrolling her in dance, gymnastics, and vocal lessons. This early emphasis on performance, while fostering her natural abilities, also instilled a deep-seated drive for perfection and a powerful desire to please. Britney possessed a natural effervescence, a sparkling personality that captivated those around her. She was often described as a sweet, diligent child, eager to learn and eager to perform. Her early talents extended beyond singing and dancing. She was also a competitive gymnast, showcasing her remarkable discipline and physical agility. There were no particular ambiguities about her age or origins. Her identity was firmly rooted in her Southern upbringing and her burgeoning talent. The socio-economic environment was working to middle class, comfortable but not lavish, and the pursuit of Britney's dreams often required significant financial investment from her parents, a commitment that underlined the family's shared ambition for her success. Her initial exposure to her field came early and intensely. At the age of 8, she auditioned for Disney's The Mickey Mouse Club, demonstrating a boldness and stage presence far beyond her years. Although she was initially too young for the show, a casting director saw her potential and connected her with a New York agent. This pivotal moment launched her into the rigorous world of professional performing. She spent summers studying at the Professional Performing Arts School in New York City, immersing herself in the demanding schedules of auditions and training. The state of the industry, particularly for child performers, was competitive and demanding, often requiring immense sacrifice. Her early motivations were clear: a genuine love for performing, a desire to entertain, and perhaps a subconscious yearning for the validation that came with applause. The hurdles were many: fierce competition, the emotional toll of constant rejection, and the immense pressure to succeed. Yet, even then, the inherent joy she found in singing and dancing propelled her forward, a young girl from Louisiana ready to conquer the world, unknowingly stepping onto a path that would lead to unimaginable heights and unforeseen challenges. Britney Spears' journey to global superstardom was a meteoric ascent, but one that began with years of relentless effort and fierce competition, far from the glamorous image she would later project. After her initial audition for the Mickey Mouse Club at age 8, she briefly appeared on Star Search in 1992, showcasing her vocal talent, but ultimately losing the competition. This early setback, though minor, was a glimpse into the unforgiving nature of the entertainment industry. Her true pivotal role came when she was finally cast in the revamped The Mickey Mouse Club from 1993 to 1994, alongside other future stars like Justin Timberlake, Christina Aguilera, and Ryan Gosling. This intense, demanding environment served as a rigorous training ground, honing her singing, dancing, and performing skills, instilling a professional discipline that would define her career. After the Mickey Mouse Club was canceled, Britney returned to Mississippi, briefly contemplating a more conventional path. However, the pull of performance was too strong. She continued to record demos, tirelessly traveling to New York to meet with producers and record labels. She faced numerous rejections, often told that her sound didn't fit the prevailing trends of R&B or alternative rock. Industry gatekeepers were searching for the next big thing, but many struggled to envision a new pop princess in a landscape dominated by grunge and hip-hop. Her relentless efforts, however, were fueled by an unshakable determination and the unwavering support of her mother, Lynn, who actively shopped her demo tapes. Her breakthrough moment arrived when Jive Records signed her in 1997. The label saw her undeniable star quality and her unique blend of pop sensibility with a touch of R&B. They paired her with producer Max Martin, a collaboration that would prove to be world-changing. Her debut single, Baby One More Time, released in October 1998, was an immediate, explosive sensation. The iconic music video, featuring Britney as a Catholic schoolgirl, generated both excitement and controversy, instantly cementing her as a global phenomenon. The public and critical reception to Baby One More Time and her debut album of the same name was unprecedented. Critics were initially divided. Some dismissed her as a manufactured pop product, while others recognized her undeniable charisma and marketable appeal. The public, however, was unequivocally captivated. The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, selling millions of copies and becoming one of the best-selling albums of all time. Britney was an overnight sensation, a teen idol whose image and music permeated every corner of pop culture. The impact of her rising fame on her personal life and family was immediate and profound. The modest financial conditions of her childhood were replaced by unimaginable wealth and global recognition. However, this sudden, overwhelming fame also brought intense scrutiny. Her family, once her closest allies, found themselves navigating a new, highly public dynamic, forever changed by the blinding glare of the spotlight. The relative normalcy of their lives evaporated, replaced by a constant whirlwind of touring, media appearances, and the relentless demands of managing a superstar, transforming their existence irrevocably. Britney Spears's romantic entanglements were a central, often volatile, aspect of her public narrative, played out in the glaring, unforgiving light of global celebrity. Each relationship, from her early teenage romance to her later marriages, was meticulously dissected by the media, often fueling intense speculation and public judgment that deeply impacted her reputation and career. Her first highly publicized romance was with fellow Mickey Mouse Club alumnus and pop superstar Justin Timberlake, beginning in the late 1990s. Their relationship, a fairy tale pairing of two of the biggest teen idols on the planet, was a public darling, embodying youthful love and pop royalty. They were the it couple, their innocent, wholesome image carefully curated by their respective camps. However, their highly visible relationship also came with immense pressure and scrutiny. When they broke up in 2002, the narrative quickly shifted. Timberlake's song "Cry Me a River" and its accompanying music video, which heavily implied Britney's infidelity, painted her as the villain, deeply damaging her public image and setting a precedent for a media narrative that often cast her in a negative light. This public shaming had a profound emotional toll, as Britney was still very young and navigating the brutal realities of celebrity heartbreak. Following the very public end of her relationship with Timberlake, Britney's romantic life became increasingly tumultuous and subject to intense tabloid fodder. In 2004, in a spontaneous act in Las Vegas, she married her childhood friend, Jason Allen Alexander. The marriage was annulled just 55 hours later, a shocking event that sent the media into a frenzy and was widely perceived as erratic behavior, further chipping away at her carefully constructed image. This brief, impulsive union was quickly followed just a few months later by her marriage to dancer Kevin Federline. This relationship was met with widespread public skepticism and criticism, particularly because Federline had recently broken up with his pregnant girlfriend. Their whirlwind romance, documented in their reality show, Britney Kevin, Chaotic, showcased a more unfiltered, often tumultuous side of Britney's life, alienating some fans and fueling the out-of-control narrative that was beginning to emerge. The births of their two sons, Jaden James and Sean Preston, in 2005 and 2006 respectively, brought a new level of personal responsibility, but also intensified media scrutiny on her parenting. Her divorce from Federline in 2007 was another highly publicized event, leading to a bitter custody battle that became central to her highly publicized public struggles. The societal context of the early 2000s, with the rise of aggressive paparazzi culture and 24/7 celebrity news cycles, meant that every detail of her relationships, every perceived misstep, was amplified and sensationalized. She was a constant target, her romantic choices dissected, judged, and often used to fuel narratives of instability. The emotional toll of these constant public entanglements was immense. She desperately sought love and normalcy, yet found her most intimate relationships picked apart, often contributing to the immense pressure that would eventually lead to her most public struggles. Her later relationships, including those during her conservatorship, would continue to be scrutinized, often filtered through the lens of control and freedom, highlighting her ongoing battle for agency in her personal life. The zenith of Britney Spears' career was a dazzling, almost unparalleled period of pop domination, establishing her as an undeniable global icon from the late 1990s through the mid-2000s. She wasn't just a singer, she was a cultural phenomenon, a meticulously crafted yet powerfully magnetic figure who captivated millions and redefined what it meant to be a pop superstar. Her most iconic roles were played out not in film, but on the grand stages of her monumental tours and in the visually stunning narratives of her groundbreaking music videos. Her groundbreaking achievements came in a relentless flurry. Her debut album, Baby One More Time, instantly established her as a global force, followed by Oops, I Did It Again, 2000, which broke sales records, becoming the fastest-selling album by a female artist in history. These albums spawned a string of massive #1 singles, including Toxic, Gimme More, and Womanizer, each accompanied by iconic music videos that pushed boundaries and set trends. Her tours, like the Dream Within a Dream Tour and the Onyx Hotel Tour, were elaborate, theatrical spectacles, showcasing her incredible dancing, her commanding stage presence, and her relentless work ethic. She became synonymous with pop music, a symbol of youthful rebellion and unapologetic femininity. The public persona Britney projected during her peak was initially that of the innocent, virginal pop princess, carefully cultivated by her management. With her wholesome smile and suggestive but never explicit routines, she walked a tightrope between girlish charm and burgeoning sensuality. She famously declared she would remain a virgin until marriage, a statement that only intensified public fascination and debate. As she matured, this persona evolved. With albums like Britney and In the Zone, she shed the schoolgirl image, embracing a more overt sexuality and a fierce independence. She became a symbol of female empowerment, an artist taking control of her image and sound, contrasting sharply with the manufactured innocence that first defined her. This shift was daring and powerful, signaling a new era of pop stardom where female artists could reclaim their narrative. Vivid scenes of Britney at work during this period illuminate her intense dedication and extraordinary talent. In the recording studio, she would meticulously craft her vocal takes, working with producers to achieve her signature breathy yet powerful sound. Her songwriting credits on later albums, like In the Zone, showcased her growing artistic control. On set for her music videos, she was a true professional, often performing complex choreography for hours, her energy seemingly boundless. Directors and choreographers spoke of her innate understanding of movement and her ability to translate abstract concepts into captivating visuals. On stage, during her elaborate tours, she was a whirlwind of energy, executing intricate dance routines while delivering live vocals, captivating tens of thousands of fans with her undeniable magnetism. Interacting with fans, she often displayed a genuine sweetness and gratitude, while with colleagues, she was respected for her unwavering commitment to her craft, even as the pressures began to mount. Her cultural impact during her peak was monumental. She didn't just sell records, she defined a generation. She became a fashion icon, a trendsetter, and a symbol of what modern pop music could be. She influenced countless artists who followed, her blend of pop, R&B, and dance, creating a blueprint for future superstars. She represented the aspiration of youth, the intoxicating thrill of freedom, and the power of female expression. Every performance, every public appearance was an event, a declaration of her reign as the undisputed princess of pop, a vibrant force that shaped the sound and image of the new millennium. Beneath the glittering facade of global superstardom and the relentless demands of her empire, Britney Spears' secret personal life was a tumultuous landscape of profound inner conflicts, vulnerabilities, and an agonizing struggle for autonomy. The seemingly effortless charisma she exuded publicly often masked a deep-seated insecurity, a lingering echo of a childhood where her worth was often tied to her performance and ability to please. The constant public scrutiny, the relentless pressure to maintain an impossible image, and the profound lack of privacy contributed to a growing sense of fragmentation and isolation. Her inner conflicts were vast and complex. She wrestled constantly with her identity, torn between the Britney Spears persona the world adored and the private woman yearning for normalcy and control. The relentless demands of her career, coupled with deeply personal heartbreaks and betrayals, led to periods of intense emotional distress and an overwhelming sense of being trapped. She longed for a sense of normalcy, a life where she could make her own decisions, free from the constant orchestration of her every move. This yearning for agency often clashed with the tightly controlled environment created by her management and, eventually, her family, fueling a deep-seated frustration and resentment. Britney's struggles with mental health, though not widely understood or compassionately addressed at the time, were a profound underlying current. The intense pressure cooker of child stardom, compounded by the abrupt loss of privacy and autonomy in adulthood, led to periods of extreme vulnerability. Her public meltdown in 2007 to 2008, widely sensationalized by the media, was a raw, visceral manifestation of these internal battles. The public saw a woman shaving her head and attacking paparazzi, but few understood the depths of her despair, the desperate cry for help, or the profound psychological toll of living under such unyielding scrutiny. She felt perpetually misunderstood, her desperate pleas for control often interpreted as irrationality or rebellion. Her family dynamics, particularly her relationship with her father, Britney Spears, and other family members, became a major source of conflict in her private life. The conservatorship, imposed in 2008, stripped her of virtually all personal and financial control, leading to a decade-long battle waged largely in secret. She described feeling exploited, dehumanized, and constantly monitored, a stark contrast to the independent woman she had sought to become. This profound loss of autonomy became her central inner conflict, a battle for her very soul. Close, private relationships were few and far between, often strained by the pressures of her fame and the restrictions of the conservatorship. Yet, a few trusted individuals, often outside her immediate family, provided rare moments of respite and genuine connection, offering a space where she could be vulnerable and heard. These confidants witnessed her profound sadness, her unwavering resilience, and her desperate longing for freedom, understanding that the glittering facade of pop stardom masked an agonizing, lonely battle for her fundamental human rights. The pressures of her profession and the unprecedented control exerted over her stripped her of self, forcing her to embark on a long, arduous journey to reclaim her identity and her life. The narrative of Britney Spears' career, while marked by incredible highs, was tragically punctuated by a period of profound and highly public decline, often framed by the media as a spectacular meltdown. This decline was not a singular event, but a cumulative, agonizing unraveling under the relentless glare of the spotlight, fueled by immense pressure, personal setbacks, and unaddressed mental health struggles. The events leading to this decline began subtly in the mid-2000s. After divorcing Kevin Federline, Britney found herself navigating intense public scrutiny as a young mother, often hounded by paparazzi. The relentless pursuit, coupled with the pressures of maintaining her career and personal life, began to take a visible toll. Her behavior became increasingly erratic in public, sparking tabloid headlines and widespread concern. Her performance at the 2007 MTV Video Music Awards, where she appeared disoriented and lacked her usual precision, signaled a profound shift, suggesting a deeper struggle beneath the surface. The specific circumstances of her crisis reached their devastating climax in 2007 and 2008. In January 2008, she refused to relinquish her children to Kevin Federline's bodyguard, leading to a standoff with police and her eventual hospitalization on a 5150 involuntary psychiatric hold. This was swiftly followed by another hospitalization and, crucially, the establishment of a temporary conservatorship over her person and estate. The imagery from this period is stark. The paparazzi photos of her shaving her head in a Los Angeles salon, the raw anger in her eyes as she attacked a photographer's car with an umbrella. These were not just sensational incidents, they were desperate cries for help, visceral manifestations of a mind pushed to its absolute limits. The emotional and physical deterioration was palpable. Friends and former associates described a woman overwhelmed, struggling to cope with the relentless pressures and the profound loss of her private life. The impact on her closest confidants was significant. Many expressed helplessness, unable to intervene as she spiraled. Her children were temporarily taken from her custody, a devastating blow that further compounded her anguish. This period of intense vulnerability led to the establishment of the conservatorship, a legal arrangement that, initially presented as a temporary measure for her well-being, would ultimately strip her of her fundamental rights for over 13 years. Her final moments in this specific nadir of her life were not marked by a physical passing, but by a profound loss of agency. The legal system placed her under the control of her father, Britney Spears, and a team of appointed conservators. This effectively silenced her, removing her ability to make personal, financial, or even medical decisions. She was a global superstar, yet legally akin to a child, her life meticulously managed by others. There were no reported last words, only a chilling silence from the once vibrant and outspoken pop princess, as the world watched her disappear behind the legal curtain of the conservatorship, unaware of the agonizing battle for freedom that would define the next decade of her life. The immediate reactions to Britney Spears' conservatorship in 2008 were a complex tapestry woven with threads of shock, a pervasive sense of tragedy, and a chilling acquiescence from a public desensitized by years of tabloid spectacle. Initially, many in the media framed the conservatorship as a necessary measure, a way for Britney to get help after her highly publicized meltdown. There was a collective sigh of relief from some, a sense that the chaos was finally contained. However, this narrative quickly overshadowed the fundamental questions of autonomy and human rights. There were no funeral services or public memorials, as this was not a physical death, but a profound legal and personal diminishment. Instead, there was a quiet, insidious acceptance in the public consciousness that Britney, the once vibrant pop star, was now broken and needed to be managed. The media coverage shifted from incessant pursuit to a more curated narrative controlled by her conservators. Initial reflections on her life focused on her meteoric rise and equally dramatic fall, often simplifying her complex struggles into a sensationalized cautionary tale about the perils of fame. The grief of her family was complex and often contradictory. While her father, Jamie, was legally appointed as conservator, subsequent revelations would paint a picture of deep resentment and perceived exploitation. Her children were removed from her custody for a period, a heartbreaking consequence of her public struggles that caused immense personal anguish. Her closest friends and former collaborators often expressed concern, but their voices were frequently drowned out by the official narrative. The wider public, initially consuming the drama, slowly began to question the longevity and the nature of the conservatorship. The #Free Britney movement, though embryonic at this stage, began to gather momentum, a growing undercurrent of concern that would eventually erupt into a global call for her liberation. This period was not one of public mourning for a loss, but rather a chilling silence surrounding a profound injustice, a quiet acceptance of control over a human life, all under the guise of protection, leaving a lingering, unsettling question mark over the very definition of freedom. Britney Spears' long-term legacy is not just etched into the annals of pop music. It is a profound and evolving narrative that has reshaped public consciousness, redefined the conversation around mental health, and ignited a global reckoning with celebrity exploitation and conservatorship abuse. Her story irrevocably influenced the music industry by showcasing both the intoxicating power and the brutal cost of creating a global pop icon. She set a new bar for pop performances, stage spectacle, and marketing, creating a blueprint that countless artists still follow. More importantly, her fight for freedom exposed the dark underbelly of the entertainment world, forcing a reevaluation of how young artists, particularly women, are managed and controlled. Lingering mysteries and prevailing myths continue to swirl around her, fueling endless discussion. The most pervasive myth, meticulously propagated for years, was that she was crazy or unfit to manage her own life, a narrative that conveniently justified the conservatorship. Another myth suggested that she was simply a puppet of her handlers, overlooking her profound artistic contributions and her innate strength. These long-held misconceptions are now being dismantled, replaced by a growing understanding of her resilience and agency. The questions surrounding the extent of her family's alleged involvement in her conservatorship and the true nature of her personal relationships during that period remain subjects of intense public debate. Common misconceptions often reduced her to her early innocent image or her later struggles, failing to acknowledge her consistent evolution as an artist and her sharp business acumen. She was frequently dismissed as a manufactured product, when in reality she exerted significant creative control over her music and image, particularly in her peak years. Her journey is often framed as a cautionary tale of fame, but it has now evolved into a powerful story of survival and triumph against systemic injustice. Her story continues to resonate profoundly because it is a raw, unflinching narrative of an individual's fight for fundamental human rights. It's a tale of resilience against immense pressure, public humiliation, and legal battles that stripped her of her most basic freedoms. From the early grooming for stardom to the suffocating grip of the conservatorship, and ultimately to her liberation, Britney's life is a saga of enduring pain and unwavering hope. She implicitly taught contemporary audiences about the complexities of mental health, the insidious nature of control, and the importance of advocating for oneself, even when silenced. Her legacy is one of defiant empowerment, a powerful, albeit painful, embodiment of regaining one's voice. Through her music, her public testimony, and her ultimate victory, she gifted the world not just iconic pop anthems, but a powerful, enduring lesson that even in the darkest cages, the human spirit yearns for freedom, and that standing up for yourself, no matter the cost, can inspire a movement, leaving an indelible mark on the world by simply daring to be stronger than yesterday. The final chapter of Britney Spears' ongoing saga continues to be written, but the echoes of her raw, undeniably impactful life will reverberate through the annals of pop culture forever. She was more than a singer. She was a shimmering dream, a caged bird who learned to sing even louder, a symbol of liberation for a generation yearning to break free. Her journey, a dazzling spectacle woven with threads of triumph and profound struggle, painted vivid scenes of what it meant to be adored, exploited, and ultimately to reclaim one's own narrative. From the innocent dreams of a Louisiana girl to the global stage where her every move was scrutinized, she navigated a world that tried to own her, choosing instead to fight for her right to simply exist, one dance move, one whispered lyric, one defiant plea at a time. The legacy she builds is not merely a collection of iconic hits or a staggering fortune, but a potent, undeniable question etched into the very fabric of our times. What does true freedom cost, and what boundless strength can emerge when a silenced voice finally roars? Her spirit, a beacon of defiant resilience and undeniable star power, will continue to burn bright, a permanent fixture in the pantheon of those who dared to dream, to fall, and to rise again, leaving behind a world forever altered by the powerful, unbreakable rhythm of her own remarkable heart.